Once again, Lawrence Mrwebi now really getting into the details of that Richard Mdluli matter and what exactly was behind his decision for those charges to be dropped. And the issue of representations coming up, Govan.
Yes, it has come up once again, and in the bite that you've just played, we can hear Lawrence Mrwebi saying that their investigation showed that it wasn't actually Richard Mdluli's signature on the Atlantis Nissan loan agreement, and saying that that should have been held up for more investigation. And essentially that was one of the points put to him by the evidence leader, Advocate Nazreen Bauer, during the cross-examination regarding the representations received on the Mdluli matter. He acknowledged that he received representations by, among others, Solly Lazarus's legal attorney, also Hein Barnard, and this was done under the capacity of crime intelligence. And during the evidence cross-examination by Bauer, we heard that even though these people were under investigation, they were sending representations to him, not to have the case dropped as accused, but to say that the case itself threatens the security of the country and threatens the state secrets. And Bauer essentially asked him whether he believed it was correct for him to receive such representations while they were under investigation. It's a point which the panelists will have to decide, but that's been the nature of the engagement this morning.
And as far as the resignations of Breitenbach and Ferreira are concerned, of course, they say that they were pushed mainly because of the work that they were doing on the Mdluli matter.
That's what they have said. This morning we've heard how Lawrence Mrwebi was actually the one that, of course, pushed for the suspension of Glenys Breitenbach, but he was also the one that wrote a letter asking for new prosecutors to be put on the Richard Mdluli case. And he says he did that because at the time, in April 2012, he became aware that he himself was under surveillance, and there was a big discussion in the NPA around media leaks around the specific Mdluli case, and he said his decision to ask for Ferreira and Breitenbach to be removed from the case entirely came from that concern. It seems as if Mrwebi is trying to say he was concerned that they were the ones behind the media leaks.
But was he questioned further on that in terms of being able then to also provide details about what led him to those suspicions? Because, of course, as we heard from Advocate Breitenbach when she was giving testimony there, she believes her being pushed out was simply because of political interference.
There's a meeting that happened in April between crime intelligence officials and Lawrence Mrwebi, and he says at that point senior officials from the crime intelligence division of the SAPS visited him in his office, and during that time they produced a big file which had information about the implications of the investigation into Mdluli and how certain information was getting out into the public. So Mrwebi says that his reason for pushing for their removal is mostly based on that meeting, on the information that came out of there. It's tricky because this inquiry hasn't put forward the names of those officials or the information that was contained in that big file, obviously because some of this is still classified under the National Intelligence Act. So we don't know if we'll get that information. All that we know for sure is that Mrwebi is saying that that was his primary reason for pushing for them to be removed from this case.
I'll tell you what, Govan, we might never see those documents, and one wonders whether or not there will be any special applications in terms of PAYA for those documents to then be made as part of the inquiry. Do you know?
At this point, we're not certain if that is going to happen. Evidence leader, Advocate Nazreen Bauer, seems content with moving forward with the line of questioning without having that documentation available. I have to say that from what we saw this morning and brief parts of this afternoon, and it seems as if Bauer has been able to secure important concessions from Mrwebi. First of all, with the fact that he was visited by those crime intelligence officials, that he received representations from the legal attorneys of Barnard and Solly Lazarus at one point, and also saying that during this time he behaved in a manner which was not in accordance with the NPA's prosecution's policy. That, of course, is what's being tested here. And from what we've heard so far, it seems as if Bauer is building a strong case to prove that Mrwebi is unfit for office.
All right, let's leave it there for this afternoon. Govan Whittles is watching the Mokgoro Commission of Inquiry.